Today I will tell you 3 scary stories about UFO evidence. Story 1. 70 years ago, something extraordinary crashed into a barren stretch of land near Dust Hollow, Arizona. Not a weather balloon, not a covert military gadget, nothing human-made. No, it was a genuine, unexplainable phenomenon, and I'm exhausted from the skepticism, the dismissals, the endless cover-ups. My family's tied to this enigma. My great-uncle owned the neighboring plot where it happened. Then my mom inherited it, and now it's mine. I've been steeped in the whispered tales of that night, passed down like heirlooms, some etched into my memory as vividly as if I'd been there. One detail always haunted me: the beings. Great-Uncle Amos swore there were 3 of them. One didn't make it past the crash. Another faded away in some secret holding cell. Who knows where? And the third vanished. That's what gnaws at me. Did it slip away into the vast, sunburnt wilderness? Is it still out there, lurking in the dunes, trembling in fear, or biding its time? I've spent countless sleepless nights imagining its fate, picturing it crouched beneath the stars, watching us. That's what I hold on to. Mom always said belief is what fuels the truth. You've likely heard that in mid-June 1955, something plummeted into the desert near Dust Hollow. The scattered wreckage, the wild theories, the folks branded as lunatics for daring to question the official line. It's all part of the lore. But have you heard how the wildlife still shuns that patch of earth? How compasses spin uselessly when you step near it? Or how, on certain moonless nights, a low, eerie wail rises from deep underground, like something's trapped far below. If you've ever watched Justified, you know how desolate these southwestern expanses can feel, perfect for concealing secrets, maybe even something massive hidden in plain sight. I've wondered if they never hauled it away. What if it's still there, buried beneath the sand, stirring the strange happenings that ripple through this place? Those thoughts kept me restless, so I did what any sensible person would. I turned it into a livelihood. I started offering guided treks across my property, inviting the curious to scan the skies and chase their own answers. It's a tidy little gig, but I'm not here to boast about my hustle. I'm here to tell you about what I saw last night. Something weaving through the constellations, dimming the moon. I promised myself I'd get it down before tonight's tour. So here we go. It was just 3 of us last night, including me, which struck me as odd. I'd expected more for the anniversary, but I guess Dust Hollow's mystique has faded from the public's mind. The moon hung in a waxing crescent, not the best for stargazing, but no one canceled, so at 10 p.m. sharp, I left my trailer to meet them. For the record, I recommend new moon nights. When the sky's a black canvas, you'll catch glimpses of things you'd otherwise miss. They were waiting at the edge of my land, silhouettes against the faint lunar glow. As I approached, I made out a man and a woman, but it wasn't until I was steps away that I realized it might be a father and his kid. The guy wore a dark jacket, slouched against my rickety fence, scrolling through his phone. I tensed, recalling Great-Uncle Amos's tales of those shadowy figures in black suits who'd show up after weird sightings. But this guy didn't fit the mold. No hat, no sunglasses, just a casual vibe. The girl beside him, maybe mid-teens, had one boot propped on the fence, her arms crossed. She radiated irritation, dressed in an oversized my morning jacket tee, cargos, and scuffed yellow sneakers. The shirt hung loose, and I wondered if she'd borrowed it from him. "Hey there," I called, giving a wave. The man glanced up, flashed a grin, and waved back. The girl didn't budge, her expression flat as the desert floor. "Evening. Decent night for it," he said. "Let us do intros." "I'm Riley," I offered. "James," he replied, then nodded toward the girl. She stared off into the distance, so he added, "And this is my cousin, Sadie." I blinked, caught off guard by the pause before her name. "Sadie, like Sadie Hawkins?" She groaned. "No, like Sadie Sink. You know the actress?" James chuckled. "Her folks are big into movies." "Oh, like Stranger Things?" "Exactly," he said. "I'm shocked they didn't go for something flashier, like Winona or Millie." He smirked. "Right, Sadie?" She shot him a glare. "Sure, James. And it's Sage now, okay?" He grinned wider. "How could I forget, Sage?" She rolled her eyes, but then cracked a small smile, softening the tension. "James promised me a wild trip," she said. "It was this or Skinwalker Ranch," he quipped. She huffed. "I told you, I'm not into creepy stuff. And I told you, you're safe with me." I laughed, unsure what to make of their banter, half wondering if James had dragged her out here against her will. "Ready to head out?" I led them toward the spot where it all went down. We couldn't cross in the exact site, fenced off decades ago, but we got close. James carried a sleek pair of binoculars, his polished boots crunching over the gravelly terrain. "Ever seen anything strange out here?" he asked, passing the binoculars to Sage before tilting his head skyward. "I've seen oddities, unexplainable stuff. Whether it's from beyond, who knows?" I glanced at Sage. She was fixated on the moon, not the stars. A shadow darted across its surface, and I followed her gaze. "You—" James paused, thoughtful. "9. 9 what?" "9 unidentified objects. 10 if you count that flicker over Red Butte, but I'm still on the fence about it." "You've seen 9 UFOs? He met my eyes and nodded. "Yeah. Back then, they were complete mysteries. We've got files on them now, but at the time, it was maddening." He checked his watch with a quick flick of his wrist. "What do you do exactly?" I pressed. He didn't answer, just stepped over to Sage and nudged her. "Sage." He took the binoculars, aimed them straight up, and froze. "There it is. Perfect timing." "There what is?" "That," Sage whispered, pointing upward, her voice tight. I looked, and there it was. A diamond-shaped shadow drifting across the sky, blotting out chunks of the starfield. When it crossed the moon, I stifled a gasp. It was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed, and I've seen plenty of weirdness out here. Then came a sound, above, below, everywhere. A deep, bone-rattling hum, like something out of a sci-fi nightmare. I clapped my hands over my ears and ducked, heart pounding. Beside me, James stood unfazed, staring up as if deaf to it. I wondered if it was real or if that thing was beaming it straight into my head. Sage's face twisted in panic. "Jay," she cut herself off, glanced at me, then back to James. "I'm freaked out. I get it, but it's fine, probably an X-77. They're not landing, just observing." He paused, and waiting, I echoed, my voice shaky. "For what? For the go-ahead to swoop in or snatch someone." He grinned, a glint in his eye. Sage groaned, and he laughed. "Kidding, Sage. Just kidding." The shape vanished into the clouds, and James suggested we head back. Sage looked on the verge of tears, so I agreed. We trudged back in near silence, James occasionally glancing up, then at his watch. Sage lagged behind, head low, And when we reached my trailer, she bolted for his car, a dark SUV, and locked herself in. James turned to me. "Sorry about that." I waved it off. "No worries. I've dealt with moody teens." He nodded, started to speak, but I interrupted, desperate. "What was that? Do you know?" He hesitated, then said, "Just stay cautious. Thanks for the tour." Yeah, safe drive," I mumbled, rattled. He gave a tight smile, climbed into the SUV, and drove off toward Nevada. I watched until their taillights melted into the night. This morning, my phone buzzed awake with notifications. Every booking for tonight's tour canceled, replaced by 4 new ones, all men. One messaged me, saying he couldn't wait to dig into my thoughts, whatever that means. So that's my story. Last night, I saw something beyond explanation, something hinting at a hidden, unsettling truth. But what chills me most isn't the unknown above. It's that those who know about it down here don't seem fazed. Shouldn't we be? Shouldn't we question it all? Don't take my word for it. Go out there. Look up. Story 2. We were setting up camp under a sky streaked with faint pulses of green, like someone was twirling a glow stick up in the cosmos. It was subtle, but impossible to miss. We cracked jokes about little green men and chuckled as we hammered our tent stakes into the rocky soil of Willow Creek, Montana. I knew there were 5 of us, no question. We'd been tight since grade school, and this trip was our big hurrah after graduating high school. The green flickers faded as we chatted and wrestled with our tents. Milo got his tent up first, as usual, and announced he was off to grab some firewood. I flashed back to last summer when we worked together at the diner in town, late-night shifts, flipping burgers, making the dead hours bearable. Over by the creek, Tara was still puzzling over her tent instructions, adjusting her chunky square glasses. I didn't know her as well as the others, but I'd borrowed her history notes once in sophomore year. Then there was Quinn, my cousin, teaming up with Lila to tackle their tents one at a time. I could picture them clear as day, hanging out by the gym lockers, Lila's little sister always tagging along, begging to join us. I'm laying this out because I'm dead certain there were 5 of us, and I knew every single one. So Milo headed off for wood while we unfolded our camp chairs and arranged them around the fire pit. The sun dipped below the ridge, and the forest swallowed the last scraps of light. Shadows stretched long and jagged from the pines. Tara rummaged in her pack for a flashlight, and we started wondering why Milo was taking so long. Then came the crunch of leaves. He was back, arms full of branches. We were all sunk into our chairs by then, zipped into hoodies as the chill set in and a breeze rustled the trees. "Wow, you couldn't even set a chair out for me," Milo said, dropping the wood into the pit. 5 chairs circled the fire. I tried to make sense of it, but my brain felt like it was sinking into mud. Everything had been crystal clear until that moment. Then I noticed all 5 seats were taken, even though Milo was standing. My thoughts just stalled like something was yanking them away. A prickling unease crawled up my spine, and I pinpointed why. The forest had gone completely still. No crickets, no wind, nothing. I glanced at the others. Their faces mirrored mine, tight, uneasy. Tara's fingers twisted together, her eyes darting around the group, trying to count heads. I scanned every face, familiar, tense, all frowning. Except one seemed off, but I couldn't place it. "It's fine. I'll grab one myself," Milo said, cutting through the silence. The tension eased a bit. I stood to help, locking eyes with him. He gave a slight nod, like he knew something was wrong, too. We stepped away from the pit toward the tents, but I kept the group in my peripheral vision. "How many are here?" I whispered as Milo scanned our gear. We'd only packed 5 chairs, one for each of us. They were bulky. No way we brought extras. 5, right? I mean, 5 chairs, he said, but his voice trembled. Maybe someone forgot theirs, I offered. My mind dodged the real question, grasping at excuses. It felt like I wasn't steering my own thoughts, like trying to wake from a dream. If I pushed too hard to figure out the 6th, a dull ache pulsed in my skull. "Yeah, that tracks," Milo said, shoulders loosening as he turned back to the group. When we reached the fire pit, 2 chairs sat empty. One for me, one for him. It added up now, even though we'd all sworn it hadn't before. Quinn suggested we were just wiped out from the hike in, 5 miles uphill with heavy packs. She might have been right. We'd been up since dawn. Lila pulled out a 6-pack of sodas, and we cracked them open. We scooted closer to the fire's warmth, sipping and swapping stories from senior year. Lila was recounting a night she swore her house was haunted, creaking floors, flickering lights, when a shiver hit me, sharp and sudden, despite the fire's glow. Something clicked, something I'd missed. "Who lit the fire?" I blurted, cutting her off. The group blinked at me, annoyed, until they realized no one had an answer. I studied their faces again, lit by the flickering flames. Familiar, pale, scared. "Wasn't it you, Milo?" Tara asked. He shook his head. "I think it was the one standing behind Casey," Quinn said, nodding at me. I spun around so fast my neck twinged. My pulse thundered. Nothing but endless dark woods stared back. The towering pines loomed, and I felt tiny exposed. "Wait, I don't know." Quinn stammered, eyes wide, hands trembling. Lila slid over, gripping her shoulders to steady her. "We should get out of here," Lila said, voice shaking. "Something's off, but I can't figure it out," Milo added. "It's pitch black out there." "We'd never find the trail," someone replied. "Let's stay till morning and bolt at first light," Tara agreed. I wanted to argue, but she was right. The darkness beyond our clearing was suffocating. "No solo tents tonight," Quinn said. We nodded. Our one-person tents could squeeze 2 if we crammed. We paired up, me with Milo, Quinn with Lila. Tara kept saying she didn't have a partner, but we insisted she did. She wouldn't buy it. Then it hit us. There were only 5. We ended up huddled in the center of the clearing, pressed together. "Why do we keep counting 6? Tara asked, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cold. We'd almost left her alone, thinking someone else was there. My gut twisted. I shut my eyes, forcing myself to list us. Me, Milo, Tara, Lila, Quinn, and pain stabbed my temple. I gagged dubbling over. Milo caught me before I hit the dirt, and we shuffled toward the tents as someone doused the fire. Milo got me into a tent while the others debated outside. My head throbbed in waves, catching only fragments. Quinn suggesting we arrange 3 tents in a U shape, openings facing in, so we'd be close and secure. Milo started to leave to help, but I grabbed his wrist, begging him to stay. The rearranging took a while. The pain eased as everyone settled in. A head count confirmed 5. Tara would sleep solo, but with the tents so close, she seemed okay with it, though I think she was just being brave. We agreed to pack up at dawn. Before zipping the flap, I peeked outside. The wind had picked up, branches swaying in the faint moonlight. Beyond our clearing, the dark felt alive, pressing in. I glanced at the 2 spare tents and froze. Someone stood beside them, motionless. Sleep took me anyway. Lila's scream jolted me awake. Milo and I tore out of our tent. Quinn and Lila stared into Tara's tent, faces drained. We shoved past. Tara's sleeping bag was coiled tight, her head at the center, expression twisted in pain, the fabric dark and wet. Milo zipped it shut. Lila's eyes glazed over. Quinn shook her, sobbing. Milo grabbed his flashlight and yelled, "Move! Now!" We abandoned camp and hit the trail, clinging together. Milo led, his dim beam barely cutting through the black. The 3-mile trek stretched ahead, the dense canopy blocking the moon. Lila stumbled, twisting her ankle. We stopped. Someone said they could brace it so we could keep going, but then dragged her into the woods. It was too fast to react. Quinn lunged after her, but Milo held her back. She broke free, chasing Lila's fading cries. I stepped to follow, but Milo gripped my shoulders, shaking me. "Casey, we have to go, please," he said. Quinn's voice cut off mid-shout. Milo and I ran, aiming for the car. At some point, a third set of footsteps joined us, shadowing close behind. "Milo, who's back there?" I panted, legs screaming, heart hammering. He glanced at me. Confusion, then fear, then fury. "Keep going," he said, pulling a pocket knife from his jacket. He pressed the car keys into my shaking hands and spun, tackling whoever was there. Grunts and scuffles faded as I sprinted on. I tripped, rolling down the trail, but kept moving. Relief hit when I stumbled into the parking lot. I fumbled into the car, gunned it, and peeled onto the road. I'm typing this at a gas station, phone finally picking up a signal. I called 911, fumbling through the story. They sounded skeptical, but sent help. The sun's creeping up now. After I post this, I'll check why the person in my back seat hasn't made a sound the whole drive. Story 3. I've been taken by the same strange craft 53 times. At last, I've pieced together what they're after. The first time, I was 22. The second, 23. The third, 24. That year, it wouldn't let up. It's never been as relentless as it was back then, but it visits at least once a year, every year without fail. No matter how old I get, the signs are always the same. I can sense it coming now, like a shiver before a storm. The lights in my house dim and buzz. A deep hum pulses through the air. Then that vibration starts, crawling up from the soles of my boots, spreading through my bones until I'm trembling as I step closer to it. And those glowing blue lights, sharp, unblinking, cut through the night. When the final light flares on, there's 6 of them total. The craft itself is a shadow. All I ever see clearly are those 6 points of blue. The first time, I thought it was like 3 predators sizing me up in the dark, their eyes glinting. Or maybe one massive thing, studying me while staying hidden. But once that 6th light ignites, there's no time to dwell on it. Once that 6th light ignites, I know I'm about to fade out. It's clockwork now. Fainting's become as familiar as breathing. A weird, unsettling reflex. I'm 39 now. 53 times it's come for me. If that sounds wild to you, I get it. It's tough for folks to swallow something they haven't lived through. I've lost plenty over the years because of this. Friends, family, even a couple of partners. It's robbed me of peace, of chunks of my life. But it's taught me things too. Mainly, to keep my mouth shut. The only ones I talk to about it now are the investigators. The ones who chase the unknown. They're the only ones who don't look at me like I've lost it. Others either humor me like it's a quirky phase or try to lock me up. I've been hauled into psych wards so many times, they ought to name a room after me in that hospital outside Boise, Idaho. That year I was 24, brutal. I was in and out of those places like a revolving door. The docs said it was a key age, prime time for something like schizophrenia to kick in. If it's going to show, it'll show now, they told me. Great. So I'm unhinged after all, I thought. I swallow their pills. I downed every one. Antipsychotics, then a mess of extras to counter the side effects. The cotton mouth, the sluggishness, the way my body felt like lead. But the worst part, they didn't care about that. I'd ran about how the meds stripped away my spark. Everything that made life feel alive. And they just nod, scribble, and adjust the dose. No more daydreams. No more fire. Just a gray haze. I didn't live. I drifted. The world turned dull, washed out, like a book left in the rain. Everything faded. Everything except those piercing blue lights. That year nearly broke me. Things shifted, barely, but enough when I stumbled across the investigators. It was pure luck. I was at a diner in Missoula when I used to sketch it back when I could still hold a pencil without feeling empty. By then I just sat there, nursing coffee, staring at the counter. A flyer tacked to the bulletin board caught my eye, a talk about unexplained phenomena come in town. I snagged the details and signed up. It was a small crowd. Believers are rare, but when the lead investigator, Dr. Ellis, spoke, I knew I had to connect. For the first time, someone didn't brush me off. She invited me for an in-depth sit-down. I threw some clothes in a bag and drove 6 hours to meet her team. They asked about the start, the patterns, what I could recall. No one tried to fix my story or call a delusion. They just listened. For the first time, a room full of people told me it was real. Dr. Ellis suggested I ditch the meds if they were dragging me down that much. I quit them cold that day. Since then, I felt steadier. The visits haven't stopped, but they've tapered off since that wild year. When it happens, I call Dr. Ellis, or she comes to me. Her crew's all in. They're obsessed with figuring out why I'm the target so often. She's tried to convince me over the years that whatever's behind this probably isn't out to hurt me. I want to believe her, especially since there have been times it's felt helpful. Like when I've been laid out with fevers, too stubborn to see a doctor, and I'd wake up fine after a visit. Or to keep showing up until I was back on my feet. Maybe they're not hostile. Or maybe they're keeping me around for a reason. I cling to the first option because I'm still here 53 times later. The 53rd time hit a few weeks ago. I felt it brewing when the power flickered. I don't resist anymore. I stepped outside, the hum rattling my teeth, and saw the first blue light already glowing. 2 through 5 followed, right on cue. The 6th blazed and I was gone. I rang Dr. Ellis as soon as I came to, sprawled across my couch, every muscle aching. It had been almost a full day. She booked a late-night bus to my place. I didn't sleep, too wired. She knocked at dawn, commenting on the bags under my eyes as I let her in. She brewed tea in my kitchen while I sank into a chair. She knows her way around now, grabs the mugs, the honey, no directions needed. She also knows I'm useless without caffeine first. She slid a steaming cup my way and settled across from me, the only one who ever sits there these days. We sipped in silence until I drained mine. She refilled it, then flipped on her recorder. Dr. Ellis with Subject 7. March 12th, 2025, 7 a.m. I grinned. She's all business on tape, even though we've gotten close over the years. Tell me about it. I ran through the usual, the power glitch, the hum, the vibrations, the lights, the blackout. Sometimes I catch fuzzy glimpses of being on board, but it's like a half-remembered dream. Less out of body, more what body? Cold metal under my back, blurry edges, a blinding glare above. I learn to keep my eyes shut if I wake up there. I feel them working, probes, pricks, something pulled or pushed into me. Probably pulled, since Dr. Ellis's tests never find anything odd in my system. She does spot the marks, though, tiny punctures on my arms or neck. Did you come at this time? I sipped my tea, letting the warmth ground me as I sifted through the fog. A headache pulsed back. No, don't think so. She nodded, jotting notes on her pad. Always so precise. What were you up to when it started? I frowned, grasping at fragments. I think I was microwaving leftovers. Had the radio on and... Any dizziness? She cut in. I shook my head. Good. I started to add more, but she interrupted again. Any trouble sleeping lately? I blinked, thrown. No more than usual. She smirked, a rare break in her focus. Sorry, Sam. Didn't mean to throw you. I've been talking to other cases. Sleep issues pop up a lot after these things. Figured I'd check with how many you've had. I chuckled. Well, heck, hope not. Me too, she said, her grin softening the room. Go on. Not much else to report. Just the headache and exhaustion. I stripped for the exam. She ran her tests. Clean bill as always. It's the routine, eerily normal after all these years. Then last night flipped everything I thought I knew. I was sunk into my couch, my spot, molded to me over time. Laptop on my thighs, scrolling mindlessly. A headline snagged me. Some new drug trial. Boredom, mostly, drove me to click. I skimmed it until a quote stopped me cold. When asked about sleep disruptions from the drug, one participant laughed. Well, heck, I hope not. I froze, staring. Try to shrug it off. People say stuff like that, right? I tracked down the study's author, not Dr. Ellis, thankfully, and searched his name with the trial title. Paywall. But there were dozens of papers by him in that journal. I had some cash from Dr. Ellis for a recent check-in, so I bought access. The jargon was dense, but I pieced it together. This guy's team had run countless experimental trials over decades. At first, it was just interesting. Then it got personal. The drugs, the side effects, the subject profiles, it all felt too close. Especially the smaller studies. One case study nailed me. Age, build, everything. And across paper after paper, they called him Subject 7. Subject 7 had been through it. Diseases I didn't even know I dodged. A 24-year-old Subject 7 had a resistant infection. Took years to clear. Matched my first encounter. A 38-year-old Subject 7 tested a new treatment, then got exposed to something nasty. Lined up with last year's visits. Subject 7 was a lab rat. While I always walked away healthy, I didn't sleep. Read all night, digging into my hidden history. Check the original article, gone. This guy should be a big name, right? Shouldn't he? Reading turned to typing this. I've stayed quiet too long, burned by disbelief. Now I know, and I'm done hiding it. There are others out there. If you're one, please reach out. I can't keep going like this. I've lost faith in the one person I trusted. I don't know what's next, who I'll tell. But when the lights flicker again, the hum starts, and the vibrations hit, I'll be waiting.